Yo, yo, yo! Welcome back to the MMA Short Show. As always, your boy, Stephen Moustaris, and I apologize. I wanted to get this video up a couple days ago, but shouts out to the old dude who decided he was going to run a red light and total my 2023 Hyundai Santa Fe and caused me nothing but issues in the last 48 hours with random phone calls from attorneys and different insurances and trying to get a rental car. So seriously, man, from the bottom of my heart, shouts out to you. You're an amazing guy. But besides all that, let's get back to the video, man. One of my favorite things of sports, and all sports, it doesn't matter which level. It could be when you're playing yourself in middle school, high school, a college level, a professional level. Rivalries make the sport so much better. It doesn't matter if it's basketball, football, hockey, baseball. You can name them all. It does not matter, man. If you're going to play your rival school, nothing like that intensity. Nothing like a little extra trash talk or a little extra to play for, man. And when it comes to MMA, it happens to be one of our favorite things. Not only do we already get to watch these guys use their bare hands, their legs, their knees, their elbows, everything that they possibly can to beat someone else, then you add the level of trash talk, you add a little bit of bad blood, you add a rival, you add a grudge match to it, and there's nothing better, man, especially when you see two guys talking so much. Like, yeah, sure, you talk to somebody on the football field, you got 10 other guys on your team that can maybe make something happen or help you a little bit if that guy gets the best of you, or if you get the best of him, he's got 10 other guys. You're not just going to win the game by just beating one specific person. Or in basketball, we all know you got 4 other guys, man. You get subbed out. There's so many different things that can happen. In fighting, it's the greatest thing ever because all that stuff that you're talking, you get to actually back it up. Not with a jump shot, not with a dunk, not with a crossover, not with a tackle, not with a catch over you. Like, you get to back it up with your fist and your legs and your feet and everything. And that's why we love MMA, man. Some of the greatest rivalries that we ever seen. John Jones, DC. You had the Conor Habib. You had the Usman and Colby. You had people like Miesha Tate and Ronda Rousey, like Chuck and Tito. You can name them for days that put on some of the best fights, not only adding so much trash talk to it, but to actually see these guys hit each other. So, as amazing as that is, there is nothing worse, and I mean nothing worse, than somebody who talks so much trash and is never willing to back it up. So I thought it'd be a pretty cool time to look at 5 MMA beefs that got so out of hand, yet the fight just didn't deliver. So let's get into it. Number 5, Muhammad Mokaev versus Manel Kape at UFC 304. And I get that it's just a few months old, but let's be honest here. This is the definition of this video. If you guys go back and watch this, it already sold itself. You had an undefeated prospect of Muhammad Mokaev taking on a Manel Kape who's been knocking everybody dead at 125. It's always exciting to watch. Number 1 contenders match, or so we thought. And then, of course, gets to fight week, and reports from Eric Nixick, who's Manel Kape's coach, comes out that, Muhammad Mokaev was trying to take a picture with Manel Kape starting off the week just out of respect, and then Mokaev sucker punched Kape, which ended up leading into a full-blown fight into the hotel lobby. And so everybody, all fans, all media, we knew that fight already had the hype, but to see what we've been hearing and all the, the bad blood, it instantly started to take off, instantly started to be talked about more than most fights on the card. And then that leads into the press conference where you got Muhammad Mokaev and Manel Kape literally needing to be separated by security. It seemed like more security were there than ever, especially for two 125ers. It's pretty funny. It even led to them almost fighting at the weigh-ins. And then where it took off the most, man, right before the fight, both guys are in there trying to fight each other. And I think it might be the first time we've seen it, at least when it's not the main event. All the security in there trying to keep these guys away from each other. And then, of course, like 2 barking little chihuahuas. As soon as the ref said, let's get it on, these guys go out there and put an absolute snooze fest on. I think there was only 50 strikes landed between the two. I think there was only like 60 strikes thrown to begin with. And if you guys know anything about flyweights or 125, these guys throw 50 strikes in a minute most of the time. These guys are crazy fast. And, the fight goes on. Muhammad Mokaev wins the fight, unanimous decision, lands 3 takedowns, has majority of control time. But after a whole fight week of nothing but fights in the hotel lobby, fights at the weigh-ins, fight at the press conference, for you guys to go out there with no urgency at all, you wouldn't expect that these guys were fighting for the number 1 title fight. You wouldn't expect that these guys were hating each other before this fight card. So for it to come out that Muhammad Mokaev ends up getting released after everything that happens, and most likely at this rate, he probably won't ever come back to the UFC and fight again. It's not shocking at all, and I don't think any of us want to see it again. Even if, you are an undefeated prospect, or if you're Manel Kape and you're knocking somebody out. If you never want any anybody to watch you fight again, this is the perfect example of how to fight. Because, I mean, my goodness, come on now. Number 4, Conor McGregor versus Dustin Poirier at UFC 264. I mean, when it comes to this fight, man, if you go back and watch the second fight where, you know, Conor's super respectful, Dustin Poirier's super respectful, it's almost like you don't even want to watch the press conferences again because it's that weird seeing Conor McGregor being that nice. And after he gets knocked out by Dustin in that second fight, you know, we had to get the trilogy, but this is one of the darkest moments in UFC history, if we're truly being honest about this one. This is when it goes from respectful, nice Conor to full cocaine Conor's back, you know, crackhead Conor, you know, alcoholic Conor, whatever you want to call him, gremlin Conor. I mean, this guy is back in full force, you know, saying F you to Dustin Poirier the entire time. Your wife sent me DMs, that whole fight camp. Talking about, you know, naming Jolie the entire time, calling her the husband of, you know, of Dustin Poirier.
Your wife is your husband. You're only a little of a thing, a silly little hillbilly. Jolie's wife! Jolie's wife!
It got absolutely insane. When you start bringing family into it, you better be willing to back it up because karma's willing to be there, man. And I think it ultimately shows itself in this fight. But when you go back and watch this press conference, like I said, it's just dirty Conor, drunk Conor, cocaine Conor, back, disrespectful Conor. And, you know, as great as he is, Dustin Poirier is coming off the win in the second fight. So he's way more calm, way more relaxed, way less, you know, emotional. So, I mean, ultimately, that man won the verbal exchanges when it came to the press conference.
You used to be a lot better than that, man. The trash talk was a lot better than that. Not McGregor fast, McGregor sleep.
And I think it truly gets under Conor's, you know, gets under his skin way more. And we just see Conor getting dirtier and dirtier. So when you know, get to the weigh-ins, you got Conor throwing, I don't know how many front kicks trying to hit Dustin Poirier when you got Dana and all these people in between them. And then you get to the fight, and I think we all were pretty sure that, you know, Dustin Poirier was going on his way for the clean victory. You know, he was looking like he was about to take off on Conor again. But at the end of the round, at the end of the, you know, first round, Conor McGregor goes out there and snaps his leg, and one of the most gruesome injuries we've ever seen. And if you guys want to go watch it, please go watch it, but I'm not posting it here. And this is where it ultimately just takes off and gets uglier and uglier. And this is where this rivalry clearly has no end. And if anything, this fight just made it even worse. So as Conor's sitting there, he's yelling, "Oh, doctor stoppage, doctor stoppage." He's yelling, "Your wife sent me DMs." And I don't know what's better out of this whole situation, the whole Conor McGregor post-fight interview or whatever, or if it's the Joe Rogan memes when he's sitting there, you know, or with Conor, and this man's going to get every interview ever. I truly don't know which scene's better. And at the end of the day, this really might be Conor McGregor's last moments in the UFC. And to see him, sure, you have to give him some benefit of the doubt that he's sitting there with a snapped leg and, you know, he's probably super uncomfortable. But just to see him just get that low and to get that ugly and to get that dirty, it just reminds you, hey, these fighters are aggro guys, man. These guys are out there. They don't care. They make it as ugly as possible. So to see this rivalry, I hope it's not over. But sitting here recording this video in pretty much October of 2024, I mean, let's get pretty real here. I don't think this fight's ever going to happen again. And I don't even think Conor McGregor's ever going to fight in the UFC again. So this has to be a number 4 just because, you know, you want to see a knockout, or you want to see the fight get a clear ending, and for him to snap his leg, you know, Dustin gets robbed of a win, or, I mean, Conor even gets robbed of a win, but we never get to see this true beef get settled, so this has to be on the list. Number 3, Jorge Masvidal versus Colby Covington at UFC 272, and I don't think this really needs any introduction. If any of you guys have even been following since COVID, like, you guys already know what this fight implicated. You had 2 former best friends, 2 former roommates, 2 former training partners turn absolute rivals, absolute hatred between the two. And the fight already sells itself. You already have the fan favorite in Jorge Masvidal, and you got, you know, one of the most hated guys that's ever fought ever in Colby Covington. And, I mean, you can call him American Badass. You can call him whatever you want. I prefer Donald Trump's side piece, who doesn't even deserve to be a side piece because Donald Trump doesn't even want him. But regardless, you have the fight. It sells itself. But then, of course, Colby Covington has to take it to the next level. He brought up all the stuff with the law, with Jorge Masvidal, which, hint, hint, it kind of comes up by the end of all this. And it's kind of funny to go back and look at. But he also brings up, you know, Jorge Masvidal's ex-wife, who ends up, you know, doing a couple interviews and sits there and talks bad about Jorge and how he wasn't really a father. So clearly gets very ugly. And, you know, it's already the title for King of Miami. It's got everything. It's all the implications are on the line. And, of course, after a press conference full of just these two talking back and forth and all the security in the world, of course, we get out there on fight night, and Colby Covington just dominates the fight. 6 out of 15 takedowns. He lands 200 strikes more than Jorge Masvidal. He racks up over 16 minutes of control time. And probably one of the more upsetting nights ever, you know, for fans, especially. Most of us love Jorge Masvidal, and most of us hate Colby. So it was tough watching the villain win that one. And the only little bit of hype they had in this fight at all was when Jorge Masvidal rocked and dropped this man Colby Covington in the 4th round. But by that rate, all the grinding and all the control, you know, he was already too tired to even go after him. And I'm pretty sure he ultimately ends up getting taken down and ends up losing the round anyway. But still had somewhat of excitement. If you want to go back and rewatch, there's some rewatch value. But where this all comes to a conclusion, where this all gets crazy, is these guys were locked in the cage for 25 minutes, and more so Jorge Masvidal locked in the cage for 25 minutes with this man. You could have done whatever you want. And, of course, this fight takes place on March 6th. And by March 23rd, this man, Jorge Masvidal, sneaks up on Colby Covington out in public and ends up sucker punching. And we've already heard about it. Breaks his tooth, breaks one of his Rolexes, gets sued for probably a bunch of money, ends up becoming the ultimate loser. Not only did you lose the fight, you also lost the court case, and both of these guys lost about 2 years of their careers because of this. So the beef, 100 out of 100. It got wild. It got heated, but the fight, really like a 3 out of 10 because this man Colby went out and did the damn thing. So, which, hint as well, this isn't the only time that you're going to hear about somebody punching another guy after the fight. So, and like I just previously said about Jorge Masvidal sucker punching Colby Covington after their fight, number 2, Paul Daley versus Josh Koscheck at UFC 113. This one right here, this is probably 2 of the cockiest fighters that have ever lived. You have Josh Koscheck, who's openly known as one of the cockiest dudes ever. You've seen him on The Ultimate Fighter with GSP. You see him all over the place. The dude is full of himself, full of charisma, full of everything. And he went on to face Paul Daley at the time, who Paul Daley, knockout machine, also a very cocky UK fighter. And of course, this fight, you know, sells itself. 2 guys talking as much shit as you possibly can. 2 guys saying they're the best. The other guy saying they're the best. The other one saying he's going to take everything from the other one. Same with the other guy. Everything is lining up perfect for this fight. Number 1 contenders match to see who fights GSP. And also, whoever wins this fight gets the spot at the Ultimate Fighter. So it makes sense why you go back and look and why this was one of the most anticipated fights ever, especially a non-main event fight. So once these guys actually got into the octagon and Josh Koscheck puts an absolute wrestling clinic on this man, Paul Daley. I think Paul Daley only landed 14 strikes, and this man, Josh Koscheck, goes 83 of 93 strikes landed. He lands 4 of 16 takedowns, but he controls 12 minutes of the 15-minute fight, which explains exactly why this fight goes out and is a snoozer. But what makes this fight so memorable and everything about it is this man, Paul Daley, as soon as the fight's over, he just got absolutely taken out for 3 straight rounds, dominated, unanimous decision all day, decides he's going to sneak right by Dan Miragliotta and sucker punch Josh Koscheck after the bell, in which one of the most infamous moments of all time, and ultimately leads to Paul Daley having a lifetime ban from the UFC. And the next thing you know, this man goes 1-3 in his Bellator Strikeforce career, and he's out of MMA forever. So this is a friendly reminder. If you're going to go out there and start that much trash talk and start a grudge and start a big rivalry, you better go out there and back it up. You better defend it, because if you're going to wait till the fight's over, a clean 15-minute fight is over, just to get a sucker punch off, it just shows your true colors, and you never deserve to fight again. So this is easily number 2, and let's get into number 1. This might be my personal favorite one, Rampage Jackson versus Rashad Evans at UFC 114, just a few weeks after the Josh Koscheck and Paul Daley fight. But this one right here was one of my favorite beefs of all time. We had an entire Ultimate Fighter season, surrounding it. Maybe the biggest Ultimate Fighter season ever. You had Kimbo Slice, Matt Mitrione, Big Country Roy Nelson. You had the birth of Brendan Schaub, which I feel like for most comedians out there, you absolutely hate it. But I know a lot of YouTube channels are running off of that man's name. So alongside of that, the heavyweights, all the big fights, all the great names, you have Rampage Jackson and Rashad Evans, two of the best 205ers in the world at this time. Rashad Evans already being an Ultimate Fighter champion as himself and already being a winner as it is. You got this man, Rampage Jackson, who's one of the greatest knockout artists of all time and one of the greatest trash talkers of all time. And it is just nothing but two real-ass dudes just going at it the entire season. This is clearly the one where you got Rampage breaking apart the cardboard door. You got plenty of phenomenal clips from this season where they're just up in each other's face, not backing down. Just two dudes just saying, hey, man, I'm here. You want to throw? Let's throw. I think it's the first time I ever felt, or heard, you feeling froggy? Then jump. Like, Rampage was that man. Rashad was that man. I have more respect going back and watching this now than I did back then because I was hating Rashad Evans so much because I was such a Rampage Jackson fan. It makes me wish I could re-experience it now as the fan that I am now, and I would probably love both of them and be pretty much more excited for that fight. But I'll never forget it, man. The one thing that makes me really mad about this fight is that it was a 3-round main event. Just because it didn't have a title on it, the names were so big that yes, there were 3-round main events then, and it really makes me wonder what would have happened in the 5-round fight, because we go out in this fight for all the expectations, for everybody expecting huge knockouts and a huge whatever. You get out and the first part of the fight is actually pretty good. I won't lie to you. Rashad Evans, he catches Rampage with a nasty hook that sends him flying across the octagon. But then after that, absolutely boring snooze fest. Rashad does a really good job in negating everything Rampage does. You can tell Rampage is worried about the takedown, so he's not, he's pretty tentative when he goes to throw. So you don't really get too much when it comes to this fight outside of winning the 3rd round a little bit. This man Rampage rocks Rashad just a tad, but just couldn't get the job done. And again, it makes me wonder what would have happened in the 4th or 5th round, just because, maybe Rampage gets a little tired, maybe Rashad does, but all in all, it was definitely a fight that under-delivered with the amount of beef and the amount of weeks in a row that we had watching The Ultimate Fighter. So ultimately, I don't know if it's their fault because the fight didn't, exceed expectations, or if it's, just us watching somebody, yell at each other one time a week for however many weeks in a row watching The Ultimate Fighter, and then two badass guys that knock people out. And then you go into the fight and it seems like by the end of it, they're buddy-buddy and they're hugging each other. So, it definitely is worthy of number 1. So you guys are still watching by the end of this. You guys are true, real ones. And thank you guys. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know which one's your favorite or I guess least favorite. And if I missed any, please let me know. And as always, your boy, Steven Moustaris. Let's go, baby. Let's go.